Hey everybody, it's Chris and Sandy with the Parenting Autism Podcast. You can find us on the web at www.parentingautismshow.com, or if you'd like to email us directly, it's parentingautism@att.net. Welcome to episode 62.
Episode 62, here we are.
Yeah.
So I thought today we could maybe answer some questions that have been coming into us from different listeners.
Okay.
And I think it's always good to periodically do a show that kind of focuses on that. We always get back to everybody, but I find that sometimes the same questions come in and there's probably people who haven't reached out that it could be helpful to.
Right on.
But we have had a good week. Again, no major meltdowns with Bryce, which was great. Mm-hmm. And I can tell that we've had even a couple of close calls, I will say, where we can see that he's on that verge, but we've been able to kind of redirect him, and he's able to redirect himself. He's not all us, you know. I think he's learning to, what's the word I want to say, like regulate his emotions better.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I can really see that that's working for him. And I had made a couple of notes because, again, I just think sharing these things helps people resonate and relate to our world, and it also helps people know they're not alone. Because it's like, oh yeah, my child has done that too. Okay, we're not the only ones out there. And while every child is different, I always feel like there are some core common things that are out there that we can all relate to. But I know one that happened earlier this week, and again, sometimes it's something that's extremely new to me and you. And so we have no idea that we're doing something that's out of his routine. And so this particular time, we were getting ready to go somewhere. And you said, I'm going to go on out and start the truck. Okay.
Yeah.
So me and Bryce are following. And when we came out, the engine was already running. And he was not happy
He's
about
like,
that.
Daddy, why did you start the truck? I said, well, to get the air conditioning going and just getting ready to go.
Yeah, and I saw the tears starting to come, and I'm like, oh no, this is like a legit
what did I do?
situation, and we can't undo it because you've already started it. And it was interesting, though, because, again, Bryce is getting the ability to express his thoughts more, which helps us. Some of them still don't make sense to us, but often they do. And this time he said something about not hearing the beeps. So when the engine comes on, I guess it goes beep, beep, beep.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying that he missed. So he wanted you to turn it off so that you could turn it back on and that I could hear those three sounds.
Yep. So
we went ahead and appeased him and tried that.
And the beeps didn't come on.
The beeps did not come on. So then the tears were really starting at that point. I mean, those are the kind of things as a parent that you have no idea that he's listening to those beeps and that when he doesn't hear them, it throws him completely off his game.
We had to tell him that the beeps were broken and that we would have to take the car into the shop because I really didn't know how to recreate the beeps. And
I forgot you did tell him that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, when are we taking it to the shop? What day are we taking it? It'll probably come back up again.
Well, miraculously, the next time we started the truck, the beeps happened. So we were like,
did,
oh, it's all fixed.
And
Yay.
it did seem to diffuse. But, you know, it's that kind of unpredictable change that can trigger him that you just wouldn't know. And, I mean, it really could have gotten a lot uglier. But, yeah, so that was one of them. And then the other one I didn't witness, but you told me about this one. And this had to do with asking Google about Animal of the Day.
Oh, yeah. So we were out and he mentioned to me, he's like, Daddy, when we get home, we have to ask Google what the animal of the day is because he likes to do that. And they come up with a different animal each day. So we got home and we're all happy. And I said, hey, Google, what's the animal of the day? Because I thought, how fun. But again, I stole his joy because he wanted to ask Google what the animal of the day was. Right. And I didn't realize that was part of the deal. So again.
So how did it go?
I unplugged Google right away because Google was still talking
about the animal.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, well, I didn't get to see what the animal was. So I plugged it back in, and I don't know, we somehow got through that. And he ended up asking Google.
Well, when I got home from work later, somehow you had briefed me about it, which was good. But I know that later he just said, hey, Google, what's the animal of the day? So he wanted to ask one more time when I was present. And he doesn't normally do that, but...
Yeah, maybe he wanted you to hear the animal of the day.
Maybe it was his chance to redo what got blown earlier in the day. So anyway.
But anybody that's out there, if you've got that Google Home thing, it's really cool for the animal of the day. They give the sound of the animal and they tell you about the animal, and then they ask you if you want more details. So,
and I have found, like, I didn't know he was doing that as something that's kind of new, but he asked for more videos on that particular animal when he did it with me. It must have been when you went to Bible study on Wednesday. No. He did it on Wednesday. Iguana. But you're right. Tuesday was the puffin.
Here, I'm going to name all the animals.
It was the iguana.
Was
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he said, hey, Google, play videos of an iguana. Mm-hmm. So, like, he took that to elaborate on that subject. Was that our doorbell?
Phone.
Oh, that's your phone. Oh, whatever.
Sorry.
So anyway.
So we got through that, and everything was good. But like you said, the interruptions are, the meltdowns or whatever are minimal right now. So
yeah, but again, I think that's because of progress that's being made. So I'm just putting that out there as encouragement, because we're actually at the 5-year mark of when Bryce was diagnosed. And, 5 years of dealing with autism and going through all the ups and the downs. I do know that our podcast gives a lot of hope and encouragement to those who are still waiting for their child's voice or their grandchild's voice. And I got a note this week from, a grandmother, and she said when she heard Bryce's voice on our podcast, that really gave her hope, because she's still waiting to hear more from her grandson. And, I get that. Yeah. We've been there.
Those kids, they're in there and they know the words that they want to say. It's just...
I think sometimes that's true, actually. And sometimes I don't think he knows what words he wants to say, which is why he uses something or somebody. It's harder for him to find it, but he definitely wants to express.
I'm just saying autism in general. I would say the kids that are nonverbal, they understand in their head, but I think a lot of times it's just hard for them to know what to do to get the sound to come out.
That I agree. It's more of an inability than lack of desire.
Right. They're intelligent.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Hands down. Yeah, not questioning that at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying... And if that's what you're trying to say, yes, 100%. I just, I think that it just takes time, and you learn on this journey that every person develops at their own speed. And whether that's actual vocal words, because sometimes we know that the language never actually comes because they don't express it verbally like we can, but they learn other ways to express it, whether it's through books, but now they have all these other tools and gadgets that can be used to help people express.
Communicate.
Yep. So, yeah. But Bryce's comprehension, that's where I was driving at. It's like, I don't think he always knows what to say or what the words are. And it is still an inability for him, because his comprehension has come a long way, but it's not all there.
We'll ask him a question and he'll babble out these words, and we'll look at each other and like, okay, I have no idea what he was talking about. But okay.
But I do like it when he says stuff and he'll be like, Well, the something, and then he'll finish his sentence, but he wants, like, he can't figure out what the something is. Like, I can't find that word, but he still wants to talk.
Yeah.
And then he'll go on it, or the someone, and he fills in with these words. And I'm like, okay, he's got his thoughts going. He just can't find all the words, and it's super cute. And we try to help him through it. So
it is interesting to just watch him think about what you've asked him, or if you're trying to have a conversation, you know, he's looking away and he's staring, and you know that he's thinking.
We can see the wheels turning.
And he's trying to formulate the sentence in his head, what he wants to say. It's interesting.
It is. It's a definitely interesting journey. So to the questions, I will go with the first one, and you can chime in on this too, because, you know, that's why we have two perspectives here. Haircuts. That comes up quite a bit. Like, how did you get Bryce through getting haircuts? And our secret weapon is my mom, who has pretty much cut his hair
since day one.
For his very first haircut, when Bryce was looking like Terry Bradshaw from the Steelers, I think you said his hair is really, it was getting longer in the back and short on the top. And you're like, I think he's looking like Terry Bradshaw. I said, that's it. We're cutting his hair. No offense. So anyway, I wanted to be a part of that. And my mom helped clean it up when I was done. But after that, I think his Aunt Carla has cut it a couple times, but it works out really well. He kind of knows the drill at Mom's. And we have worked through some of the issues. And my mom also has always cut, well, she's cut my brother's hair. And then she also cut our nephew Storm's hair, who is also on the spectrum. And so I know Storm was able to say that the sound of the buzzers, is that what you call it?
Clippers, whatever
the clippers, there, that's probably better. The buzz of the clippers, that always was difficult for him. So he was able to verbalize that. And he even told my mom, now, when you're cutting his hair, remember, that could really bother him, which was sweet that he was giving her some, you know, inside information there. And so she didn't use the clippers for a really long time, probably until she could actually ask him and kind of get his permission to do it. But even now, I don't think she pulls them out every time. She tries to go with just the scissors because it still wigs him out a little bit. I will say that recently it's become a little more difficult the past couple of cuts because he has a lot more awareness. And he has said to her, you know, don't cut my ear. You don't want to cut my ear, Mama. And then another time he said, don't cut my brain. Because she's cutting near his head. So, you know, that's part of his awareness and his anxiety. Like, he actually is concerned she's going to cut his brain. And I may have mentioned that on here before, but, you know, that's what we can't always understand, why the child is being resistant to having their hair cut. I don't think it's even all about sound. I think it's a lot about fears and what's driving that. Those fears.
You got to figure that you're probably starting with a heightened level of anxiety. So when you go into the haircut, they're already nervous just because they have autism. I would say most of the kids on spectrum, they have higher anxiety level.
Well, we do hear that a lot.
So the things that you have to think about when cutting the hair are, of course, the sound and the noise. Is the sound of the clippers too loud for them because they're sensitive to that? Do they think that because you're cutting their hair that they're losing a body part? You know, you have to think about that. Is it the sound of the scissors next to their ear? You know, the scissors make a different sound when they're touching your head and somebody makes a cut. You can hear that inside your head if the actual blade of the scissor is resting on your scalp while they're cutting. It's definitely louder inside.
Good point.
You know, those things, we try to help distract from those by letting him use his iPad while his hair is being cut.
We can't really use it because we don't want him moving, but he has it on his lap as a security blanket. Mm-hmm. But it can't be on because he can't distract her.
And you also have to think about when you're cutting someone's hair, you're pulling it to get the scissors to get the right cut, So you're pulling the hair between your fingers to get the right length, I should say, when you're cutting it. So is the pulling bothering them? So if they're nonverbal or they can't tell you what's going on, you have to consider all of those things. And I know near us, people will ask in our local autism group, hey, where can I take my kid to get a haircut? Because they have some of those issues. And there are places that people suggest that they go because the barbers are so good with the kids on the spectrum. So I would, if you can't do it yourself, I would recommend reaching out to your local group, local community, and asking them where they send their kids to get their haircuts.
Well, that's true. That's great advice. And I also think if you can learn to do it yourself, that would be great too. I mean, we started doing your hair ourselves.
Yeah.
And I was a little nervous about that. Mm-hmm. I remember what I said to you that one time. You're like, how was, I said, oops. And you're like, what does oops mean?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear oops when their hair's getting done.
Yeah, so we had a couple of oopses. But I was trying to make it
straight. Yeah,
But hey, listen.
But we do that now, and
it grows back.
Hair can grow back. I just think it's all about that environment and knowing your child. And then if they're smaller or younger.
You said it, the environment. So if you can do something like that in your environment, that is much better than taking them to an unfamiliar place. So if you have a friend that cuts hair,
maybe have
and they
come
can
in.
come to your house, or even go to the local barbershop and say, hey, my kid's on the spectrum. Do you guys do any work after hours? Like, can you make a house call? And I'm sure somebody would accommodate that.
I think there are a lot of people that would be wanting to accommodate, and, and be able to be a blessing like that. So, those are these things to factor in there, and I think it could help.
It's just, when you go into something like that, there's just so many things that you have to think about that might be affecting the child.
And it's always going to change as the child gets
child
older.
To child.
That's it. From child to child and from
as
age to age.
Older, yes.
Yep. From year to year, I should say.
Ages and stages, yes.
So that was one thing I want to talk about. Another question that came in specifically was also about washing the child's hair or bath time and how they were having a hard time with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that you just again have to analyze the whole situation and what could possibly be making this child so resistant to what it is that I'm doing. I can still remember, and this is crazy, but when I was 3, I have very few distinct memories from being a toddler. I have a crazy good memory, but with that kind of stuff, not so much.
I have 0. Except for when I cut my finger.
But it's like when it's something as traumatic, those are the ones that stick in my brain.
That was traumatic for me, yeah.
Right. You cutting your finger. Yeah. And for me, I'm not kidding, when I stayed with my mama, because my mom and dad went on a trip, and I can picture being at her place in the tub and her washing my hair like so hard that it hurt my scalp. So my mom apparently must have washed it very gently, because I never remember her washing it. But I so remember her washing my hair. So think about that if you have sensory issues with your scalp. Somebody coming in and putting their nails, and especially if it's a female, and maybe Mama had nails, I don't know. But I just remember that hurting me instead of feeling good. Like now I love a good scalp massage, but somebody ain't like drilling in my head. So, think about how you're washing the hair. Are you doing it with like the flat part of your finger and not your nails going into the scalp? Are you massaging it gently? Do you need to massage it for long? I mean, you're just trying to get the hair washed and get the grease out. So make it as simple and short as possible.
I remember with Bryce, I just tried to get through it as quickly as
Me too.
possible, I would just take a cup of water and dump it on his head, and no, don't wash, don't do that. And then I think we kind of made it into a game somehow. And then of course we had toys in the tub that he could concentrate on while I was doing that. That helped too. So he liked a seaplane and a submarine.
Yes.
So that kept his attention, and it lessened his anxiety about getting his hair washed. But you really have to think about, okay, what's the water temperature? So is the water too hot or too cold? Is that why they don't like it? You have to think about the shampoo that you're using. Does the shampoo cause irritation in the eyes? So we ended up using Everyone shampoo or soap, I think is what we use. But
because you can use it either way for
body or
shampoo.
hair, yeah, and we still use it today. But I'm not sure if that irritates the eyes or not. But I can tell you that the Johnson & Johnson shampoo, the one where it doesn't irritate your eyes, what they do is they put numbing agents in the shampoo so that it doesn't feel like it hurts, and then it also contains formaldehyde. So when I realized that that's what was in that shampoo, I stopped using it. I'm just going to be honest, because A, I don't want some chemical going in my kid's eye that's going to numb them, and I don't know what else it does. And B, having formaldehyde in it, it was like, wow, that's like something that causes cancer or something. You don't want that on. I'm not going to put it on my kid. So anyway, well, getting past that. But so you got to think about it. What is it? That's what you got to think about.
What is it that's upsetting them? And there's so many factors that can come in. And washing the hair and the soap and the eyes. And
it could be the water coming down over the ears.
It could be the sound of the water.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
It could be the feel of the water. And that's the thing. You just don't know which sensory part. It could be the fear of the unexpected, like, when am I going to feel it? So maybe counting down. Visual charts are have always been helpful for Bryce.
Yeah.
So if play on the part that they really like about the bath. Because there's normally something, like for Bryce, I can say that he even gets excited after the bath if you give him, like, what
fast
did he call
dry.
The fast dry, because it's kind of like a car wash dry, right? So, label it whatever appeases your child, but he really likes the car wash, and he likes it when you like brush him off fast, like so. And then when he prefers the shower now, but when he was doing the tub, well, we try to get him in there for a good Epsom salt bath, because that's really good for the child too. We would have the toys in there that he would like. He would have so much time that he could play with toys, because it could stay in there forever. But you just kind of put the time, like, okay, first we do this, and then we do this, and he didn't like it when we got to the shampoo part, but we had something really fun on the backside of that to get him through that, and we made it as brief as possible.
Yeah.
We just kind of worked with, and then we even gave him some control. So it's like, well, do you want to put the water on your head? When he could do that. And then that helped a lot, because then
he could predict when it's going to happen.
He knew when it was going to happen, and he knew what to expect. So incorporating them into part of it, and giving them a little bit of the control, that can help too.
Also, if you can record yourself giving them a bath and then play it back to them before the next bath, so that they know the routine, how it's going to go. Or if you can find one on YouTube maybe that shows video modeling of a bath of a child and the steps, that might be helpful for them to predict what's going to happen, because it's all about predicting. Everything is a surprise to them. They can't predict things like we can.
Right.
So I'm just going to mention, I don't know if you have any more, did any more questions come in about?
I got more stuff.
Got more stuff? Well, I quickly want to mention that he started art therapy this week.
Yeah. So
I wasn't sure how that was going to go, because he really doesn't care for doing art type things. And like using a crayon, drawing, none of that really appeals to him. But I wanted to give him a chance to try new things and maybe find something that he would really enjoy doing on the art side, because I know that that triggers the other side of the brain.
Yeah.
So we found this lady, and for those of you wondering, it's about $50 an hour here for art therapy. And fortunately, we have his Gardner scholarship here in Florida, which will cover that. So a really nice lady came in, and she's like, I've been thinking about this all week. I'm so happy to be here and meet Bryce. And she brought in all these things for him to use, and they started with paints, and he really seemed to like that. And he was painting with his favorite color, red. And to me, it just looked like a big blob on the paper. I said, well, what are you painting? And he says, well, I'm painting an airplane. I said, okay, well, show me the parts of the airplane. And it was really just a blob on the paper, a big,
To you.
Yeah.
Like but not to him.
8 or 12 inch
right.
oval of just red. And I think he put another color in there. And he's like, well, here's the cockpit, and then here's the window. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I told the lady, because we'd done some assignments in school earlier in the week where we're we're writing stories is what we're doing. And then there's a little area where they draw a picture of what the story's about. So one story was about your favorite animal. So I asked him, what's your favorite animal? He said, giraffe. I said, okay, great. Go ahead and first we put the title, a giraffe, and then go ahead and draw your picture. So he drew a picture, and it was 4 vertical lines, and that was the legs. And then off to the right was...
Didn't you have to prompt him to draw? I found this whole thing fascinating.
Yes.
But you told me, you said, where's the body, right?
Right. I said, well, where's the body? And he says, oh, it's over here. No, he didn't write the body.
Correct.
And I said, where's the head? And he's like, well, the head's right here. And he drew a circle. And then I said, okay. And while this is going on, I pulled up a picture of a giraffe, a real giraffe, and I put it on the big screen for him to copy before he even started. So he's going through, he's got the head circle, and there's no body circle. So the head is off to the side. You just got 4 vertical lines for the legs. I said, okay, well, where's the tail? You got to put a tail on. So he takes his pencil that he was using, and he puts the tail off to the side that's connected to the head. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, now, does your picture look exactly like the picture on the TV? He's like, yep. And so in his mind, what he just drew matched what was on the screen. And I'm like, wow, that
was really insightful.
Yeah. And the following days, we had a few more assignments where we were drawing other things, and it was very similar. Like what he was drawing was nothing close to what it looked like. Nobody would know what he was drawing.
Right.
So I mentioned that to the art therapist. She's like, oh, I'm going to write that down. Thank you for telling me that. So she's getting all the details about Bryce that she could. And we tried markers, and he did some other things. We did ripping paper. They're making a collage that they're going to finish next time. So Bryce, about halfway through, he's like, can I have a break? And she's like, oh, just give me 10 more minutes. We're almost done. So she came to me and said, well, maybe we should shorten, the session because of attention span going forward. She says, but we'll keep it for an hour, but we may shorten it to 45 minutes or 30 minutes, depending. But she says, I have a lot of other things, including clay, that she wants to expose him to see if he can.
Exposing him to different mediums of art is the key. Just like with music, he's been exposed to different instruments, and he's made such progress. Yeah. I would like to suggest that instead of shortening the session, I mean, if he's only asking for a break, that's Bryce. He needs a break. So have her kind of schedule that hour to give him a 5-minute break in between mediums.
Yeah.
And if he sees that as a break, she will have him back 100% right after.
We could certainly do that. And when she brought up using clay, because he was talking about airplanes and stuff, she's like, oh, well, maybe we can make one out of clay or something. And then he mentioned his chess game that he likes. And so I opened up the box and I said, well, maybe you can make a chess piece out of clay. And she's like, oh, that would be great. So let me see one of those. So she looked at one. She's like, oh, I think that would be pretty easy to do. So I think he would be over the moon if he could actually make a chess piece. Yeah.
This is going to be really good for him. And again, it's just working in those breaks for him. And I have found that with just starting to work with him with church, and teaching him more about the Bible. So last podcast, I talked about how I really am in prayer about how I can help Bryce understand the Bible. And I've been thinking about this more, obviously, during the week. And I do feel like this is my calling to be his Bible teacher, because I just I have more knowledge in that area. I mean, I grew up in church. I went to a Christian school for so many years, and I just have more of that knowledge than you do. And I think you're doing a fabulous job as his academic teacher, which helps me you help me understand his learning styles. I know I need to apply that with church as well. And you know how the whole concept of homeschooling has been beautiful for him because of his short attention span and because he does need breaks. I feel like that's the same thing for church for him to learn. And it's not, and the reality is we shouldn't just be teaching our children about God 1.5 hours or 2 hours every week on a Sunday. They need to learn every day. In some way, shape, or form. We should be modeling it for him. We should be saying things to him. And that's what I'm realizing with Bryce. Like, this isn't just a one time a week.
Right.
Yes, once a week we will focus more, and especially on a Sunday because I have more time because I'm not at work. But in the evening, I'm trying to just find ways to build upon whatever topic I am that I'm teaching him.
So you plant the seed with a topic, and then during the week you water that topic a little bit, just a little bit, because he can only take.
And that's exactly it. And that's what I'm seeing. He can only take it in small doses. But when I do it in small doses, it's working. So the first thing I'm starting with is fruits of the Spirit. And I started with love. So last Sunday, I showed him the verse about the fruits of the Spirit. And I said, well, we're going to start with love. And then I asked him which fruit he wanted. And he said, a strawberry. I said, okay. So I got a picture of a strawberry off the internet. And then I used Photoshop to put the word love in it. And then put that on the refrigerator just as like a visual reminder of love. And then I've been working on the languages of love, the way he can understand them. And then I'm realizing he has to have a breakdown for each part because the languages of love, it's like touch, and then there's using your words, because it's words of affirmation. It's helping people. There's 5 distinct languages, but then you have to break each of those down for him.
Right, because some things that come naturally to neurotypical kids don't come naturally to kids on the spectrum, and that's why we really have to break it down into the ABCs.
It is. It's like a breakdown, and that's what I'm realizing. And so what might take a week for, other people to get might take a month for Bryce to get, and that's okay. So I'm going to dedicate 1 month to eat, and if he needs more time, great, but my plan is 1 month. So this is like the month of love. I guess I could have done that for February, but I didn't have the inspiration yet. So it's going to be March.
Yeah.
But it's been good. And so I actually went online and I found some resources last Sunday, and I started using those. And then I was starting to get emails from this place that I had ordered or downloaded some stuff from. And so I wrote back and thanked them for the free resources. And then I explained what I was looking for and why. And so he gave me the link to another website that has a lot of free resources as well, and kind of more geared for children of all abilities. So it's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's got some great video songs there. And I found some about love, and they're child related, but not too overwhelming. So when you went to Bible study the other night, I said, Bryce, you want to come and listen to a song with me about love? It's a Bible song. And yes. So we went in and we listened to two. I said, we listened to one, and I said, do you like that? Yes. And I could tell like he was totally listening, and the words are on the screen in a fun way. And because now he can read, he's like reading the words too.
Yes.
So like his mind was like on all filters, like getting it all right. So, so I said, do you want to do another song, or you want to go back to your game? And he's like, another song. Okay. So we did 2. That was enough for him. And then I also noticed like he wanted to go back to whatever game he was playing. So I wanted to engage with him on other stuff too. So I said, okay, buddy, do you want to play a game with me, or do you want to continue to do what you're doing? You want to play no stress chess? And he goes, I want to play chess. Okay. So we played a game of chess, and then he went back to what he was doing. And then I waited another 20 minutes or so, and I said, do you want to play another game with me, or do you want to keep doing what you're doing? And he wanted to play another game with me. So I kind of broke down our evening of interacting with him and giving him his time, and then he would give me some time, and then he'd go back to his time. And I think, you know, I want to engage with him. And sometimes I feel a little sad that I don't, like, he doesn't want to engage with me. And it's not personal. It's just he's so into what he's doing. But I found that if I say, hey, let's do this for a little bit, then he really does want to do that with me. And then you told me that when he went to therapy, somebody asked him, about his weekend. You know, what'd you do this weekend? And he mentioned playing chess with me, you know, because it does mean something to him when we take that time. He just can't sit there with us for long periods of time.
It reminds me of the man that spoke at the card conference. And he said, you know, we want to interact more with people, and we wish more people would interact with us because it's hard for us to interact with them, if you know what I mean. So it's like
to initiate, right?
To initiate. So when you go to Bryce and you ask him to play,
right,
that is so much easier for him to do and receive than for him to prompt you to play with him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think I've learned also to just ask him if he wants to play with me. And then sometimes he'll want to finish what he's doing. And I get that. Hey, when he wants to do stuff with me, I'm wrapping something up too. But I found that if I asked him, and then sometimes a timer helps with that. I'll be like, well, do you want 5 minutes and then we'll play, you know, or do you want to do it now? But he was excited about that. And then the same thing with the video of the song, you know, it was important that he listened to that. And I thought, if I can just give him a little dose of something every day. Now I've prepared him that we're going to have a puppet show tomorrow for church. So I've got everything coming.
He's very excited.
And he is excited about that.
Well,
and
I
then
hope everything gets here.
I do too. It will. I'm counting on it. The Lord's in this. But anyway, it's me and my schedule. It's like, we'll get it. But anyway, so we're going to do this puppet show tomorrow. I have the materials. And what's great is I found something that actually has all the words recorded and the Bible story. So all I have to do is just put you
just do the puppet moves.
We just do the puppet moves.
Okay.
We don't even have to memorize anything or say anything. And I even bought the puppet theater so you and I can be behind the wall. Oh my! And he'll just see the puppets. Come on, it's going to be fun.
Video it.
Yeah.
We'll put it on YouTube.
So we'll see how it goes. Hey, it's it's
okay, cool.
It's in the works.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's gonna be good, and and I'm just trying to find Bible stories that kind of we can reiterate love and how love is being demonstrated. But on that, I'm also really trying to just use those words and talk to him. And another question that had come up was, Does Bryce know that he has autism? And the answer is no. He does not know what autism means.
Right.
So he
doesn't even know he's different yet.
He really doesn't. And
he's 7.
Great.
So
he's 7.5. And to me, the half start becoming more important because he's about rounding up to 8 soon, but he still doesn't. He doesn't.
He doesn't know he's different.
And that's okay. But I asked him the other night when it was bedtime, and I just said, Bryce, do you know what autism is? And he said, it's something you use. I said, yeah. Is it something you use? Yeah. I said, is it something you use, like maybe like a superpower? Yeah. I said, well, you have autism, and that makes you, I said, God made you with autism, and not everybody has that, but
That's
you
right.
do, and it makes you so special because God made you just the way you are, and you are so smart, and you are so special. And he, after I would say each thing, he'd go, yes. And I said, you are so handsome. Yes. I said, and you're so kind, and you're so loving. And God made you all the ways that you are. And I just think that you are such an amazing little boy. And he was just listening to all of that and soaking it up.
That touched my heart when you told me that.
Yeah, and that's what I want to demonstrate to him. And I want him
Breathe life.
to always, speak life over this child. Let him know this is a positive thing. I don't want there to ever be any shame that he has autism.
Right.
And I've had some people say to me, wow, you're all in on this. And it's like, it's why wouldn't I be?
Right.
That's my child.
Yeah.
That's our world. And embrace it. There's no shame. There's no hiding it. Yes, it's frustrating and discouraging sometimes if people don't understand it. But I don't want Bryce to ever think any less of himself. So whether he can truly understand it someday, I don't use the word different. I just say, you've got special gifts that I don't have. I said, Daddy doesn't have it. I don't have it, but you do. And God has made you in such a wonderful way, and that's what I really want to drill home to him.
Always look for the positives, the pluses, the advantages that they have. And as far as other people go that don't understand, you just have to educate when you can, when they're receptive to it, and forgive. Just forgive the people that don't understand, and just try to educate them, when you can.
Yeah.
Because
when teaching opportunities present themselves, and not everybody even wants to learn or they're going to learn, and that's okay. But the main thing is whoever you're around, then you want them to understand. But most importantly, I want my child to view it as a beautiful thing. And I do think he has enough comprehension now that he can understand when we're telling him positive things about himself. Yeah. And just like with any child or any adult or any human, you want people to point out your strengths. And, if you're at a job, you want to put a person in a position that highlights their strengths, not their weaknesses. And you find somebody else that has a strength where their coworker, that's not their strength. And you put them together to do a job better because this one has this strength while this one has this strength. It's the same thing with the marriage. I feel like God put us together because a lot of your strengths are not mine and a lot of my strengths are not yours. Just like what I was saying, teaching Bryce. I think you're doing a fabulous job with the academic side, but I think I have more of that calling to teach him more of the spiritual side. And you do too as well, but I'm talking about the strengths and stuff.
I ran into some walls because he really learns through video interaction. And I did find some Bible stories on YouTube, about creation, about Noah. But I was coming to a dead end as far as, he didn't, what else can I show him that won't be detrimental to him, that's not adult themed, that that isn't over his head, you know. So I started with the basic Bible studies, but I got to a point where like, I just don't know where to go from here. And you picked it up, and you're like, I have an idea with this puppet thing, and I'm like, that's awesome. If we can do it that way, and you find some materials, let's do it. Let's try it.
Yeah, and you know, even when I was choosing the puppets, I was thinking of Bryce and like what he'll respond to, and I got a couple that are people, because I didn't want to do animals because I'm doing Bible stories, so it's more about people. But I also chose a couple that are more like silly sock people.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
And I think he'll, like, you bring them out for the silly voices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he does like silly. And so the first video that I have, the story is about the prodigal son, which is where the son leaves. He goes and spends all his money. But if you know that story and you're familiar with it, he lost all his money. He lost all his friends because the friends were just there for the money. And he ended up eating with the pigs in the trough. And then he went back and his father forgave him and accepted him, which was a beautiful story, right? How God is with us. But he was with those pigs, so they kind of play on that. So the puppet show is somebody that is interviewing for people to play different roles in this play about the prodigal son. So they're interviewing, saying, can you play the role of a pig? So you got people going, you know, and like all these silly sounds and silly voices that Bryce is going to engage into that. So while he's getting some fun and silly, there's a serious theme that's underlying there that he's also going to get that message.
Great.
And I think that's going to work really well with him and keep him engaged to where he hears it. And how much will he comprehend? I don't know. But he'll if we keep doing this, it's just like with anything in life and any child, they understand so much at this point and then they understand more later.
Right.
We were talking about the Space Center today and we're saying, well, should we get annual passes again? And, you know, now if things are opened up, I mean, we had the whole COVID situation. But what he enjoyed when we went there, you know, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago was when we got the membership, right?
Yeah.
He's in a whole different place. And like I was saying, now he can read things. It won't be all about the playground and the slide now. It's going to be more interest in the science because in school. So that's how it's going to be with church too. What he's going to get at one age, you know, hopefully in a year, he'll understand it more. So I'm really excited about all of this for us, for him. And it's good stuff. And I will be sharing some of the resources on our website as well. But if anybody is listening and you're interested in what I've put together to this point about love, I think it's going to be really good stuff. And I would be more than happy to share that with you. So
Cool.
Anything else on the agenda for today?
No, I think I covered everything that I wanted to shout out.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to say that we do still have the contest going on for the month of March. We do have people that have been sending us in notes, which has been fantastic, gotten to know more people and their journeys. I always love it when somebody comes in and says, you know, we really resonate, and Bryce reminds us of our son and, you know, our child, our daughter. And it's like, oh, I love that because, again, less lonely, you know, and but if you want to go ahead and submit in, we're taking all those through the end of the month.
For the contest,
For the contest. We most likely will not be back on here until April because, like I said, we're getting, or maybe I didn't say that.
We're doing a staycation with my family. Well, not really here, but we'll be out of the...
We won't be home.
Right.
That's it. We're getting a place with them and we'll be away.
Yeah.
So we won't be recording for the next couple of weeks. So we'll announce in April. But we're looking forward to this. It'll be a good break for you and Bryce. We're going to let Bryce have a couple weeks off of therapies.
And school.
So and really take a nice little vacation.
He's going to be playing games with me and my brothers and sisters-in-laws.
Yeah, it's going to be fun stuff.
So, and if to enter the contest, just shoot us an email, parentingautism@att.net, or just fill out the contact form on our website, parentingautismshow.com.
Yep, and if you haven't listened to a prior podcast and this is your first time, we're just giving away one of our Patients Please t-shirts to a winner.
For your child.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, that wraps episode 62. And we'll see you in April.
Okay. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.